The Elephant and the Rainforest Guardians. In a lush rainforest where the trees reached high into the sky and the undergrowth teemed with life, there lived a magnificent elephant named Tembo. Tembo was the largest and oldest elephant in the herd, respected by all the animals in the forest for his strength, wisdom, and gentle nature. He had lived through many seasons and had seen the forest change with the passing of time. One year, the rains came late, and the forest began to dry out. The rivers shrank, the leaves on the trees turned brown, and the animals grew worried. Without the rains, the forest would wither, and many creatures would go hungry. The animals gathered to discuss what could be done. "We must find a way to bring the rains back," said Kima, the agile monkey who lived high in the treetops. "But who among us can call upon the spirits of the rain?" Tembo, listening quietly, remembered the stories told to him by his elders. "There are guardians of the rainforest," he said in his deep, rumbling voice. "They dwell in the heart of the forest, where the oldest and tallest trees grow. They have the power to bring the rains, but they are seldom seen and speak only to those who approach them with pure hearts." The animals murmured in awe. They had heard of the guardians, but few had ever ventured into the deepest part of the forest. "Who will go and seek the guardians' help?" asked Paka, the sleek leopard. "I will go," Tembo declared. "My strength and experience will guide me through the forest." The animals agreed, and Tembo set out on his journey. He walked slowly but steadily, using his powerful trunk to clear a path through the dense foliage. As he traveled, he encountered many challenges. The sun blazed down, and the ground was hard and dry beneath his feet. The once thriving streams had become mere trickles, and the air was thick with the scent of dust and decay. But Tembo pressed on, guided by the stories of his ancestors and his deep love for the forest. He passed through areas of the forest where the trees were so tall that their tops disappeared into the sky, and where the light barely penetrated the thick canopy. The deeper he went, the more he felt the presence of the ancient spirits that watched over the land. Finally, after many days of travel, Tembo reached the heart of the rainforest. Here, the trees were enormous, their trunks as wide as a dozen elephants standing side by side. The air was cool and moist, and the ground was covered in a soft blanket of moss. In the center of this sacred place stood three ancient trees, their roots intertwined, forming a natural altar. These were the homes of the rainforest guardians. Tembo approached the altar and bowed his great head. "Great guardians of the rainforest," he called out, his voice echoing through the trees. "I, Tembo, come to seek your help. The rains have abandoned our land, and the forest and its creatures suffer. Please, I ask for your mercy and your wisdom." For a moment, there was silence. Then, the air around Tembo began to shimmer, and out of the misty air appeared three spirits, each taking the form of a different animal. An owl, representing wisdom, a panther, representing strength, and a snake, representing transformation. "We have heard your plea, Tembo," said the owl, her eyes glowing like amber. "The balance of the forest has been disturbed, and the rains have ceased because the harmony between the land and its creatures has been broken." "But how can this be?" asked Tembo, concerned. "The animals of the forest live together in peace." "It is not just the animals," the panther said in a voice as smooth as silk. "The humans who live at the edge of the forest have begun to take more than they need. They cut down the trees and clear the land without respect for the spirits who dwell within. The earth is wounded, and the rains will not come until the forest is healed." Tembo felt a deep sadness. He knew the humans were part of the world, just as the animals were, but their actions were causing great harm. "What must be done to restore the balance?" he asked. The snake, its voice soft and hissing, replied, "You must go to the humans and teach them the ways of the forest. They must learn to live in harmony with nature once more. Only then will the rains return." Tembo knew this would not be an easy task. The humans had their own ways and might not listen to an old elephant, but he was determined to try. "Thank you, wise guardians," Tembo said, bowing low. "I will do as you ask and will not rest until the balance is restored." The guardians faded back into the mist, and Tembo turned to leave the sacred grove. His heart was heavy with the knowledge of the task ahead, but he was filled with a sense of purpose. Tembo returned to the edge of the forest, where the humans had settled. He approached their village carefully, not wanting to frighten them. The humans were surprised to see such a great elephant standing at the edge of their homes, but they did not flee. Tembo lowered himself to the ground and waited patiently. An elder of the village, a wise woman named Nyoka, came forward. She had always respected the animals and the spirits of the land. She sensed that Tembo had come with an important message. "Great Tembo," Nyoka said, bowing respectfully, "what brings you to our village?" Tembo told Nyoka about the guardians and the need to restore balance to the forest. He explained how the humans' actions were harming the land and preventing the rains from coming. Nyoka listened carefully and knew that Tembo spoke the truth. She gathered the villagers and told them what the great elephant had said. Many of them were reluctant to change their ways, but Nyoka's wisdom and Tembo's presence convinced them that they must try. With Nyoka's guidance, the villagers began to change. They stopped cutting down the trees recklessly and started planting new ones. They learned to take only what they need